Okay, it looks like both of the competitors are starting now.
And both our racers here are playing on PC, as you can tell by the text in the top left of their screen. That's the mod that we use and that we allow helps out with performance and some other stuff. So I believe will be this will also be a loadless race. So we will we have a live split plugin that automatically pauses the timer during load screens. One benefit to this is that people can play on either Japanese or English text, because those load screens are different lengths depending on which language you're on. So loadless kind of lets you do whatever you want.
Then destroy the Goliath-class unit by any means necessary, and gather what data you can. Understood.
So loadless is really good for just kind of standardizing everything across different PCs and platforms as well. It allows PlayStation to be competitive as well, and shortly for Xbox as well, I'm sure, to be competitive too.
Yeah, we're really not sure what to expect with the Xbox version in terms of like load times and stuff like that.
It should be very interesting to see the performance of that game as well. I'm looking forward to seeing what that's like.
It'll also be interesting to see if there's anything different about the game, if it's just like the same as like the PS4 version. You never know, really.
So both players are here, are in the initial shoot 'em up section. So there's not really too much to say here. It's more or less just kill the waves as fast as possible, so we can trigger the next set to spawn. Not too much in the way of optimizations. We will see both players taking hits here from the giant telegraph red laser, just so we can use some items to menu a little bit faster. And Marbles has actually gone for an AI manipulation here, where he pushes one of the one of the AIs off of the screen, which allows it to take out 3 of those flyers there before they spawn in.
Yeah, the positioning is a little tight there, because they sort of just fire. They use like their pod fire in like bursts, so you just have to position them just in the right spot.
Captain, I think 4B down. 2B to Operator 6-0. All Allied units down. The operation is compromised. Awaiting further orders.
So if you weren't aware, Marble has the second place time in this category. So you should expect very good things from him. He's actually a little bit behind, which is very interesting.
Yeah, Fudge is actually a newer runner to this game. I believe he's fairly successful in Dark Souls 3, if I'm correct.
I believe so.
Yeah, it's been phenomenal to see him come into this game, and he's just become so fast in such a short amount of time. It's been very good to watch.
So Fudge losing a bit of time there. You're just trying to bounce between the top and the bottom of the screen with a heavy attack, just to kill those flyers as soon as they come on screen. That's really all that you can really do. Just make sure that the last enemy in the wave dies as soon as possible.
Large enemy group detected.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
And now we're seeing both players come into the main portion of the game, very much neck and neck here actually.
Some nice synchronization.
Yeah, very good. So this is how the game will play out for the most part, if you're unaware. It's not all a side-scrolly shoot 'em up. So what we're seeing here is both players will be using pretty much one attack for the majority of the combat, which is just to do a dash and then a heavy with the short sword in the heavy weapon slot. This actually does a damage glitch, which does around 5 times damage. So it's very helpful for us when we're speedrunning this game.
Yeah, the short sword is the most important weapon by far, not just for combat, but also for movement, both like distance and height.
Laser communications recovered.
So both of the runners here dealing with the first boss quite fast. So
Program download complete.
this is pretty much timed in the speed run. He's going to throw out 2 attacks. We're waiting for the dialogue to finish to say we can use our pod programs. So it's just kind of a case of we want to deal as much damage to him as possible, get that dialogue started, and just come out of this fight.
So coming up here to what we call crane skip. I'm honestly not sure how much this skip saves, but it is a pretty significant amount of time. You'll see them dashing off and doing a heavy attack to get a little height before doing a lift, which is a jump and a heavy attack right after. That's really the main method of gaining height in this game, is starting off with a lift and then doing aerial heavy attacks to gain more height between jumps.
Yeah, so so it's probably worth mentioning that 2B has some really broken and insane vertical movement options available to her. But yeah, both players here clearing out Silo 2.
Coming up to bridge skip, which is the hardest trick in prologue. Marble gets it first try. All those inputs that he did to get up there are necessary. There's pretty much only that one way to do it, unless you want to try to do some other really tricky movement.
Yep, and it looks like Fudge got it there as well. So Marble's just navigating a short little out of bounds there around the side of that lava pit, which we can see on Fudge's screen. A little bit more finicky than it looks. You can get caught on the walls or land in the lava pit. So very nice to see both players get that.
Looks like Marble having a very, very fast Silo 3. He went for a pod program laser to take out 3 of those projectile stubbies. Only manages to get 3. That's pretty typical. Not really a big deal. You just have to clean up the last one.
I surveyed the entire factory, but couldn't find anything.
And Marble's here going for some Engels swag.
I don't know.
This newer trick, there we go, perfect. This is a newer trick that was found. It saves around a second. So not huge time save, but it does look very cool.
Yeah, very cool. There are a lot of sort of surfaces and walls in this game that you can sort of plunge against, and you just kind of glide, like just glide a long distance.
They get bad intel from time to time, huh?
I wouldn't bet.
You'll see that used later on.
Alert. High power jamming detected. No response.
So Marble's coming into the second boss fight here, Marks 2. Essentially the same as the first boss, but now there are 2 big spinny arms to deal with. So what we're going to see Marbles do is he's going to throw out 2 damage glitches to actually catch that before it comes to this stop. That's going to allow him to defeat this boss without having to buff up or use any slow-mo at all, since we only have to get it to around half health.
Nicely done. Just a very minor optimization. Using the shortcut menu to buff up your melee attacks probably only takes what, like 2 seconds or so, but it's definitely worth it if you're consistent.
And Marbles is definitely one of the more consistent runners that we have, I'd say.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He's gotten very, very good in the past, I'd say, well, month really.
Yeah, both players are still extremely close to each other, and they're now fighting Engels. So with this boss, we essentially are waiting here on a timer. We want to deal enough damage to him to make his health bar disappear, which hopefully both players will do. And then 9S will appear after a short amount of time, and Engels will essentially throw out one attack. He will choose one of his 6. I think he has 6 attacks. And there's essentially one that we don't want to see. Everything else isn't that bad.
This is the target.
And Marbles doesn't get that attack. The attack that we don't want to see is the one that's on Fudgecow's screen at the moment. But I don't believe he's gone into the 9S section just yet.
No, not yet, but yeah, Punch's very, very unlucky attack to get. Let's see what he gets. Okay, good.
Yep, so both players managed to avoid that bit of RNG there, which is good. I believe getting punches loses around 20 seconds or so. So both players here choosing a separate pipe. This has been debated very much in the community recently. Marbles we see using the correct pipe, the right pipe, and Fudgecow using a left pipe there. What do you feel about that, MT?
That is 100% wrong. Left pipe, best pipe.
Packing in.
Nine S black box signal detected.
So there we go. Marbles is going to use some movement tech here called a double lift, which when you are going up a slope you can actually get an extra jump essentially by doing this. The game thinks that you're on the floor after the first lift, so you can lift again, giving you a third jump.
Yeah, it's very, very useful.
Yeah, very good. He uses that there just to skip running around the side of Engels.
So we're coming up on ninjas, where the stubbies just drop out of the sky. Sometimes you can kill almost all of them with just one laser. I see a lot of people do sort of like vastly different strats on that, but decent ninjas.
Yeah, ninjas can certainly be a tricky fight. They do have a habit of jumping right out the way of everything.
And then we have sort of another time section where we're just waiting for some dialogue to finish up before Engels will go into a scripted punch, which will sort of change it to the next phase of the boss fight.
Provide support. To be the control on the enemy's upper arm.
And what these two are hoping for is that Engels will end one of his attack animations right after 2B says "I told you to shut up." So I guess sort of average luck for Marble there.
Control of upper arm. Seized from enemy unit. Marking weak point.
Got it. Seize its control system.
Affirmative. Infiltrating enemy subunit.
Looks like Fudgecow got kind of unlucky there. Engels kind of started the attack. Started the attack right as 2B was saying that.
So something probably worth noting there, if you played the game casually, you might remember that those attacks actually take a very long time when you're using the giant arm. What Marbles is doing there, and we're about to see Fudgecow do, is he just uses the dodge button as it attacks, and that allows us to swing the arm again immediately. So it's just a very minor optimization.
Oh, and Fudgecow gets a double hit. Very nice.
Yeah, very good. So I think that's was it discussed and found to be a 2-frame window that that's possible?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that the research showed that it was 1 or maybe 2 frames, but definitely difficult.
And we're going to see some very fast menuing here from Marbles, I'm sure.
All right.
Just setting up just some basic settings.
Okay, once you're... Morning.
So it was good from Marbles, and we're seeing Fudgecow just do the same menu in here.
Oh. The...
Nice.
Huh?
There's...
Oh,
And on Marble's screen, we're about to see the first instance of a dialogue cancel using the partner. So what happens there is there's a dialogue that occurs just as you walk in front of those save points, telling you that you can save the game there. It forces you into a slow walk. So we actually open the dialogue with 9S and walk into that trigger. 9S's dialogue actually cancels out that trigger and the slow walk then, and we can just progress through. Very minor optimization, but
too bad they can't mass produce these.
it's always good to see.
Yeah, it's used in quite a few points in the run here. So all those little time saves do add up, and it's essentially the same technique, just in different areas.
I think they sent a combat model like you to a recon job. If all they want is intel, we scanner models are built for that kind of thing.
Orders are orders.
All right.
And we see Marbles now doing another shoot 'em up section, just going down to the city ruins. Fudgecow's about to be entering this as well. Once again, not too much to say about this section. It's mostly just kill the waves.
Yeah, one thing to note about this section is you do not have any recovery items at this point, so if you get hit, it is very possible to die here.
Understood. Good luck down there.
Especially depending on what the sort of large fidget spinner flying enemy chooses to do. One thing just to note about Marble is he uses a camera setting that's much more zoomed out than what pretty much everybody else uses, as far as I'm aware. I'm not sure if anybody else uses a camera setting as zoomed out as his, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
I believe it changes up some lineups a bit.
Well, I'd always assumed that it would make the when we dash swing or when we're dashing and punching, there's an auto lock on that occurs, and I always thought it would make that a lot harder to avoid.
Yeah, we'll have to ask him after the race is over.
So we see Marbles just accepting some fetch quests here, and these are required to carry on with the story for the resistance camp here. There's not too much to say here. We're going to see a few nice optimizations, probably from both runners here. going over some barricades that people might have not known that you could go over.
This is 2B. Nothing to report.
And he's just basically going to beeline to these items, pick up 4 items,
It's fine.
and then go to another place with a few enemies, kill those, and get another couple of drops, and return those to the resistance
That should be
camp.
enough. Let's get these back to the trader.
And you just saw Marble using the pod program. If you hold down the pod program button, it will start a sort of slow-mo mode, which slows down everything around you. And that's just useful just to kind of keep enemies from getting close, prevent the auto lock-on from happening. It's useful in not only just movement, but a lot of the boss fights as well.
Okay, that's everything the supply trader asked for. Man, these chores are a real pain in the butt, huh?
The Resistance is a valuable ally to your hub. By helping them, we also help ourselves. So no, I don't think they're a pain.
Yeah.
And what you see Marble doing here is just dash punching, dash, and then a light attack afterwards, and that's just slightly faster than chaining dashes together. And now that he has finished the Weapon Trader quest, he now has the ability and the materials to upgrade the short sword to level 2. And so now instead of dash punches, he's going to do what we call dash wings, which is dash and then a heavy attack. And that is just slightly faster than dash punches.
Pod 042 to operator. Coordinates confirmed for location.
So Marble's now just heading off towards the desert to carry on with the story, and we see Fudge just turning in those quests. So they're still both very close to each other. So yeah, as you can see on Marble's screen, he's actually moving his camera in some very strange ways, which might not look very intuitive. He's doing this to essentially stop the game auto-locking every time he does that swing at the end of his dash. That actually auto-locks onto any enemy that's in your sight or close to you, really. So he's just avoiding that by manipulating the camera and keeping them out of our field of vision. And Marbles is coming up on the first buys of the run here. He's going to pick up a few items from this trader. Some animal bait for later on, something to stop the animals running away, a chip that stops us from getting staggered, some buffs and some healing items. And there's actually only one more set of buys that we do in this run.
Map data, huh?
There you see another out of bounds. You can kind of, a lot of the out of bounds is sort of just getting yourself wedged between 2 walls and then either doing a pod launch or sort of walking forward and holding the heavy attack button, or doing a plunge, depending on the specific spot. For example, Marble did a pod launch to get through that wall, but over in this one he's going to do a double jump and a plunge.
Who opens a sealed gate with explosives?
Nicely done.
There's gotta be an easier way, right?
So Marbles here just navigating in and out of bounds area, just a little bit faster than going through. What he's going to do is pick up a trigger that's slightly in bounds here, and this actually allows him to skip getting a cutscene that usually takes around 5 seconds or so, just saying that you've first made it to the desert area. And he's just diverting the path here just to pick up the Pod C, which is the missile pod, which will just give him access to some more pod programs, some extra lasers, which will come in handy throughout the run.
Careful. We've got enemies approaching.
Yep, so it looks like Fudge also nailed that out of bounds there. And we're seeing Marbles just move on to the next section where we're going to see an enemy pop up. And he's going to try for a trick here called Stupid Rock, where he plunges there into those rocks at the same time as the enemy dives. That allows us to slide along these rocks and actually get right up and next to him. You can see him there trying to actually taunt him. But yeah, that's really good. That saves,
What's that?
well, just about a second or two. Very minor.
Yeah, it looks like Don Burrows was very, very nice and dove right away. Sometimes he can sort of sit around and just kind of troll you. Lose you maybe 3, 4, 5 seconds before he decides to burrow. They see Marble. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, okay. So we see Marbles coming up here to a skip called Desert. I'm actually not sure what it's called.
Desert Housing?
Desert Housing, yeah. So he just clips out of bound there. And we see him navigating this section here. This allows him to skip basically going through a very zigzaggy path with lots of cutscenes. Right here, he's going to do a specific string of inputs to get a trigger here in the air and actually move back towards the area that he's supposed to go and land on this platform. I think he was actually trying to get it without the platform, which is possible. But this basically, that saves quite a large section of time actually over the intended pathing.
Don't listen to them, 2B.
And then did he change his weapon set here, or did he just use buffs? I didn't catch that.
I unfortunately did not catch that, but I would imagine he switches both his weapon sets. Yeah, he's certainly weapon swapping. So basically, what Marbles did there was switch out his first weapon set to be exactly the same as his second, to have a small sword in the heavy slot. This actually allows him to do the damage glitch and then switch weapon sets and throw out another damage glitch. Both swords would be essentially in the air together for a little bit of time. It's just a way of maximizing damage.
Yeah, for a pretty long amount of time, we were only doing it with one weapon set, and then one of the runners found out that you can change weapon sets, and it doesn't despawn the weapon from the first weapon set that you were using. So that really, really increased our DPS in combat. So coming up on Adam here, you just want to sort of throw swords at him. If you can do enough damage in this phase right here that Marble is on, you can skip a little mini cutscene. And it looks like he got it.
So now we see him teleport up to this ledge, and what Marbles is going to do is charge up 2 pod programs there and fire 2 lasers. That essentially just skips him teleporting all around and doing some ranged attacks at us, gets him back down so we can just finish this fight. So that was very nicely done by Marbles.
Adam not being super cooperative, but still a good fight. One thing to mention is that when you are on Pod A and you start charging the laser, you can charge it up long enough to where it shoots lasers with Pod A and Pod C, but it doesn't actually put Pod C on cooldown, so you sort of effectively get 3 lasers by doing that. It only works when you're using Pod A for some reason, but
What the hell just happened?
just worth mentioning.
I've never seen a machine like that.
Yeah, it's, well, I mean, even just charging it up to do a double laser, that was certainly something I was not aware of in my casual play.
Oh, absolutely, me either.
And Marbles is just coming up to this box here. What he's going to do is he's going to push it about 1.5 times and give us just a little gap there. He's gonna pod launch and try and fit through this tiny gap like that.
And he has to cancel the dash before he goes all the way through.
Yeah, that allows him to just clip out of bounds, and he can actually run along here, and he will save and load. And this saves just around maybe 15 seconds or so, just saves us having to run back through the desert.
Yeah, normally if you stay in bounds, you will hit a really long dialogue trigger, which prevents you from saving while there's like dialogue going on. So by going out of bounds, you're able to sort of save without hitting that dialogue trigger. Very, very useful.
Maybe we should
No.
Roger.
We see Fudgecow coming up to the box as well. See if he gets it.
I also have an incoming
Nice, first try.
Initiating playback.
That angle can be very, very tricky, so...
2B.
Yeah, it's I found it one of the more difficult skips to learn because depending on how far pushed the box is, it can completely change when you actually have to cancel that dash. So
I need all Yorha units on the surface to head over and
Fudge sort of falling through the floor there. The out of bounds, the floors when you're out of bounds are incredibly inconsistent.
Target location confirmed. I'm worried about the other androids.
but we see Marbles here just make his way to the amusement park. He went for a plunge there, unfortunate not to get it.
Right.
It's another very minor optimization, but it certainly looked extremely cool just to plunge all the way into that sewer.
Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorites.
Problems.
I suppose.
And Marble just saving a little bit of time there by dropping off the ladder and then doing a lift to get up just a tiny bit faster. And he's going to try to get a double lift off of this tree root in order to get over a cutscene trigger. Hardly saves any time, but
This is weird.
when you're consistent as this Marble is, it's worth it.
And Marble's coming up to another section of skips here. He's going to clip out through this roof, navigate some out of bounds here. And this trick essentially diverges here. There's a very new, very difficult trick, which I believe, yep, Marbles is going for here. We're going to see him get on top of these roller coaster tracks. He's going to hit a trigger just by this tree here, jump back, and he's going to spawn the roller coaster by slightly mounting the pavement there. And he's going to try and jump and clear this roller coaster, and he's
Nicely done.
Very good. That's extremely precise. This basically allows him to skip a section where we'd just be on an auto scroller on that roller coaster, just going around the tracks. It can open up a few different options. It looks like Marble's going to use this to get some extra XP.
Nice.
So he's going to kill this tank, go back along the intended path and just try and pick up as many kills as he can before he gets teleported to the next boss.
It is a core fragment from the machine life form.
Yeah, at this point he's just waiting for the roller coaster to arrive, I believe.
But yes, some runners have been using this clip to actually do another clip out of bounds and obtain a spear. Marble's not doing that at the moment, but we'll see if that becomes required in the future.
Yeah, there's a sort of movement technique with the spear where you do a bunch of like light attacks and a bunch of self-destructs. It looks pretty funny, but it's also quite fast.
Yep, and we see Fudgecow actually doing the other version of that skip, taking a slightly different path out of bounds and then getting on the roller coaster. So he's just going to be on this roller coaster here, going around, just killing a few enemies as Marble comes into another boss fight called Pouvoir.
Yeah, and he's just going to try to get as much damage on the boss as possible to get her to the health threshold where she changes phases, and you want to do that as fast as possible just so that she is already right next to the stage, so you don't have to wait as long.
So Marble's entering a small hacking minigame here. Hopefully this will be the only time we see this during this run.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, there's about to be a set of enemies spawn that throw every attack they throw out can actually put you into a hacking minigame. Loses around between 5 and 7 seconds depending on how good you are. But it's always going to lose time over not getting hacked.
Yeah, your camera angle is kind of wonky here, so it's easy for. Whew. Yeah, so that shockwave there would have gotten most people.
Keep it busy. You got it.
And then he's going to just throw out some more damage glitches to reach another health threshold and go over and destroy these androids here. Try and get some small recoveries to drop.
And now it's just finishing off the final phase, and we see him actually self-destruct at the end there, which removes all of his health. He's doing this to set up for just an optimization, a time save later on,
That machine had some pretty weird
which we'll
things to
see
say,
shortly.
huh? It's almost like it had actual emotion.
The machines
But it's
don't have
actually
feelings.
quite important to get
Accept
that
it yourself.
self-destruct
Yeah,
there.
I guess.
Absolutely, and we'll see if you manage to pick up any small recovery. Sometimes the game just gives you bad luck.
Hostiles.
Actually, Marbles I don't think requires any small recoveries. He's always had a problem with his game when he tries to use the small recoveries. He says he's not able to. So we're actually going to see some slightly different pathing from Marbles, just very slightly.
Oh, now that you mentioned it, yeah, I think I remember him talking about that. Like, it might be that he's trying to do the inputs too fast.
Yeah, that's
Because I knew I had that problem myself for a while.
yeah, that's definitely a possibility. Because I know if you try and use one of the menu items too fast, it will just put you straight back out of that menu.
Well, there are a few theories about that, but no one knows for
So
sure.
yeah, we see Fudgecow got the SD there. Very nice boudoir fight.
Yeah, he's on pretty good pace here.
They all have white flags.
Looks like they really don't want to fight.
So Marbles just ensuring to pick up that teleporter and do a little save there. He's going to go back and talk to Pascal and make his way back to the resistance camp.
And looks like Fudgecow did get some small recoveries, so you'll see why on his screen a bit later when he gets sort of where the Marble is at right now.
And that's what Marbles does. Instead of what we're going to see Fudgecow doing, he actually goes to plunge into that pit and then cancels out with another jump at the last second, just to trigger that dialogue a tiny bit sooner.
And he's looking for a boar. He manages to find one. Let's see. Okay, nicely done. And you're going to see probably the best form of movement in the game.
Yeah, a very bouncy ball.
I am definitely
So it was recently discovered, this movement. It's actually faster than just running on the bar. So
Who would have figured?
you leaving would be bad for me.
yeah, I don't think it'll ever get old. It looks fantastic.
And this only works with the boar, by the way.
Yeah, don't
Unfortunately, unfortunately, it doesn't work with the moose.
the moose moves so slow if you try and do this.
So
If you try and bounce on the moose.
that's all. Closing this channel.
And then you saw why Marble wanted to activate that dialogue as soon as possible, because he actually had to wait a second or two there for it to finish before he could talk to the Resistance camp leader.
To us directly.
Now do you believe we're not a threat?
Your mouth, but you still don't have a
So yeah, Marble's just aggravating the ball here, and it's
An
gonna,
unfortunate death.
Yep, that's gonna send back some ways.
And on Fudgecow, you just saw him do a plunge sort of into that box, and then use self-destruct to cancel it, which allowed him to kind of clip through there. He needed a small recovery in order to self-destruct, because you cannot self-destruct when you're at like 1 health, basically.
And we're seeing Marbles just spawn here, back at the location he needed to be. So that's essentially why we self-destruct after Beauvoir and aggravate the bar and pick up the save in Pascal's village. Once it kills us, it actually spawns us back at the last save location, so that's very handy for us. Just saves us having to run all the way back.
Fudgecow unfortunately not getting a boar,
A Goliath?
but at least we got to see it on Marble's screen.
I promise you, we were not.
2B. Command is deploying new flight units for us. They just set the coordinates, so let's get going.
On it.
So Marble's just making his way to the city here. You're making your way up to some flight units, and this is basically just sort of optimizing movement.
We probably shouldn't get near that guy's feet. Yeah, no. Let's find
Fudgecow getting very unlucky with the moose. Sometimes it just chooses to run away when you shoot it instead of attacking you.
The flight units should be on the
Yeah, the animals in this game, although they are helpful in some ways, can quite often be very, very unhelpful for what we want to do. Luckily, we didn't really see that too much here, but they can certainly do some terrible things.
Yeah, there are some situations where if you place the bait slightly wrong, they'll just walk past it, or they'll just walk circles around it. It can be incredibly frustrating.
We're just seeing Marbles come up here to the next boss in the game. So he's just going to climb this ladder. He's going to drop off and go through this here wall. And there is a very, very small hole in the ceiling there at the left-hand side of that. He unfortunately couldn't get through it, but he can still get over that invisible wall and just completely skip the first boss here.
Copy that.
Yeah, the first thing that he attempted is just sort of a double jump and then a dash, but the timing on it is kind of tight. But luckily, you could just do that sort of double lift technique in order to get enough height. Nicely done.
So yeah, Marble's coming up to the boss that we actually have to kill to progress. And what he's going to do is, this box has a pretty broken hitbox. You just get into a certain position near his right shoulder, and his hitbox actually soaks up the entirety of those pod programs, which allows you to kill him extremely fast. And we're just going to see Marbles moving towards the next section of the game, negotiations, which is going to be another boss fight, but we're going to see some very nice movement to get here. I'm a big fan of this movement.
Yeah, it looks very, very smooth when you do it correctly.
Yeah.
Guess we'll see once we get there.
Yeah, and that was very nice from Marbles, and he's just going to go through this cave as Fudgecow enters the first fight here. Again.
Yeah, let's see if he can get this.
Look at all these dead
Not quite.
Seems like they've been here for a long time.
What is
But he
it?
gets the double lift first try.
There's nothing like it in the database.
Not a big deal.
Yep, so that's very nice. It is very hard to get through that hole. It is very tight.
You.
But yeah, we're seeing Marbles here just entering the next boss fight against Adam and Eve. So this is another fight that's on a timer. We're going to be waiting out a dialogue. So what we're going to see is Marbles actually damage him enough to kill him once. And then I believe we're going to see Marbles try and escape from this fighting area that we're supposed to be trapped in.
Intelligence within our network began to surpass that of our creators. You'd probably be surprised at how quickly it happened.
You destroyed your own creators?
Oh, there's no...
It's also probably worth mentioning, if you haven't noticed on Marble's screen, the enemies seem to have a red glow around them. So this is actually a mechanic that we use throughout the entire run called Taunt. we basically spam our flashlight buttons, and this annoys our enemies, and they get taunted. So what they do is they will deal 150% of their damage, but we also deal 150% damage. So it's just a very nice way of just increasing our overall DPS. But yeah, we seem. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, we taunt everything basically, except like things in the SMUP sections.
Yep, and we've just seen Marbles just break out of that little section there that he was supposed to be trapped in. This is another very small optimization. Normally you'd just be waiting in there for this dialogue to finish, but what he's going to do is just pick up a few items here and clear this cave of all the enemies, just for a bit more experience and to allow him to dash swing through this area and just save a tiny bit more time.
And it is possible, if you get lucky, to upgrade your short sword one more time to level 3. It's completely luck-based though, so we'll see what happens.
So getting out there definitely improves your chances of getting that.
What a pain.
Stop complaining.
Fudgecow with the pod pat.
This is Operator.
While he's waiting.
We now have an operational transporter in the city ruins. We're attempting to deploy them at other points as well.
About time we had access to those.
Care to fill me in?
Transporters? They let you transfer your
And we're
consciousness
going to
to a temporary
see
body back in the body.
Marbles, after he's made his way through this cave back to the entrance, just jump on this ladder here. And that skips the dialogue that we were in and triggers Jackass's dialogue there. She very nicely tells us we can transport now, so he's just going to transport around back to the bunker. As Fudgecow gets the kill there.
Yeah, let's see if you can get out of bounds right away. Eve choosing to to be a meanie. Did he get it? Oh,
No, it was very close, but
not quite. You'll see on Marble screen he's doing another one of these partner dialogue cancels.
I'll rest if I feel like it.
And there we go. Fudgecow manages to get out. He's not going to have as much time as Marble did, but we'll see what he manages to do before the cutscene starts.
We need.
Marble is shooting one of the innocent villagers there as he came out of that the teleporter. Could just hear him apologizing.
So right now he's checking to see if he got the materials. He did not. So this is our second buy and sell session here. He's going to sell his small buffs, sell all those machine cores, sell some of the HUD elements, just so that he has more space for crit chips or weapon up chips. And he's going to buy some large buffs and medium recoveries.
Yep, and we're going to see on Marble's screen now a skip here called Mum Skip. What he does is he double lifts off the ramp there and does some very swaggy looking aerial movement to clear a trigger. What happens there is it's another minor time save. If you were to just walk down there, you kind of get caught in a very short cutscene with a childish robot. So it's always good to skip that.
Yeah, that was very nice. First try. That ramp can be a little tricky to get a double lift off sometimes.
This must be the commercial structure Pascal was talking about. The records say it was once a facility known as a shopping center.
No good.
And on Marble's screen, we're about to see another dialogue cancel using the partner. And this one's actually a quite a large time save. I believe that one probably saved around 15 seconds or so.
You're getting distracted.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Check this guy. He's just running away.
So it feels really bad if you miss that.
Alright, so So the time's come to see what kind of chips that Marble got.
Yep.
He's going to equip the Resilience chip, which basically gives you super armor when you have more than 80% HP, so enemy hits over 80% HP won't stagger you.
That's a lot of critical chips.
Looks like he had, what, a crit +1 and just a normal crit?
I thought it was 2 crit +1s, but I may have been incorrect. My main thinking for that is with that many normal crits, he probably would have had enough room for two of the crits, but would have taken up less space.
Here they come.
But yeah, essentially with the plug-in chips, we're looking for the crit chips really. We technically have a 0% chance without any way of buffing those, which in this run is just the chip. But the way that criticals work in this game is pretty broken, it's pretty bonkers. They actually deal around another 5 times more damage. It may even be slightly more than 5 times.
Yeah, it's insane. So that on top of buffs and taunting really does a ton of damage.
Which is really good for us as well in the run, because by the end of this run we're going to be quite underleveled. So it's very nice that we have these.
Marble is clipping into the mountain somehow. I don't think I've ever seen that before.
That's crazy.
Had a king? But how can a concept like
Marble's been the expert he is and knows exactly how to get out of that.
Yeah, there are quite a few like walls or slopes that you can just sort of dash through sometimes on accident. It's very funny.
We've seen some extremely nice swaggy movement on Marble's screen again, right there, which just allows him to skip over a very large water section. We used to have an old skip there where we'd actually hit a drown zone and it would spawn us back up on the bridge, but that's just slightly faster, but a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, just a lot of pod spins. If you hold jump and press light attack, you'll do that spin with while holding onto the pod, which is very, very useful for getting distance.
And it looks like Fudgecow had 2 crit ups there, just normal crit ups.
All right, so not terrible luck. Marbles did did have better luck there.
2B, that's an android. A Yorha-type android.
Alert. This unit is currently wanted by Yorha.
So coming up on A2 here, she can either attack you or she can run away. Then she'll either do like a dash across the ground, or she'll sort of drop down from the sky. Ideally, you just kind of want her to stay right where she is right now and just take a bunch of damage. And wow, that was an amazing fight by Marble.
Yeah, that was incredible.
That was insanely fast. Then after that, he's going to get enough height to plunge over another sort of invisible, sort of like dialogue wall. It'll start some dialogue and force you to walk backwards. But by doing that, we're able to just go to the transporter and go back to Pascal's village instead of jumping off the castle and waiting through like a minute or two of dialogue.
And on Fudgecow's screen here, we see him coming up to where Marbles did the long jump, and he's actually going to do the old skip here called Mario Kart. So he's going to plunge up this grass here.
And he's going to use the self-destruct to sort of preserve his momentum.
Yep, so that's very nice. Just a tiny bit slower than the newer method called Rainbow Road. But yeah, it's very, very nice, very well executed. We didn't actually talk about this skip, which we can see on Fudgecow's screen as Marble did it, but essentially he used a tree root to clip out of bounds there, and he's actually going to get to the side of the castle that we'd normally have to go through and climb up the windows, which allows him to get straight to essentially the entrance of the boss room. So it's
Machines are the
a
enemy.
very, very nice
Don't
time
forget it.
save there.
Oh,
Saves us
why
having to
shouldn't
go all the way
Steve
through the castle.
Yeah, it's a great skip. And then you saw Marble just kind of jump between two boxes or machines, and that allowed him to clip out of bounds. And he's going to plunge down towards this cutscene trigger. So he's going to do like a pod spin, do a pod launch, and then grab this cutscene before voiding out and plunging down towards the shore to do another void out and respawn right next to these enemies, which you are required to kill.
As long as you perform regular cleaning and maintenance, bathing is unnecessary.
Yeah, but come on, 2B. It still feels good.
So yeah, Marble's here just clearing out a few enemies as we see Fudgecow just finished up A2 there. So it looked like a pretty good fight there from Fudgecow. And we see Marbles taking out that fidget spinner. Basically with that, what we want to do is we want to get up in the air, hit it a few times, charge up our double pod laser, and we fire those both at it. And another minor optimization there as he dash swings just onto this roof, which cancels the dialogue, gets these flight units to spawn in immediately. And we're going to see Marbles heading into the Resident Sleeper part of the run here.
Yeah, even though Marble is in the lead here, Fudge is having a very good run.
Yeah, it's extremely close, to be honest, still. But yeah, unfortunately, there's not much to say about the section Marbles is in at the moment.
Yeah, just a bunch of very small optimizations, and then once you sort of leave that top-down perspective, it's mostly all auto-scroller, with a few exceptions.
Friendly units in range. We've come under heavy fire from the enemy. Our escort ship has taken damage and is unable to engage. We're currently resisting with all remaining support fighters, but we can't hold them off for long.
So Fudgecow managing to clip out first try, very nice.
We need immediate backup from any available android forces.
Plunging down to get this cutscene. Very good. Oh, and his angle was just a little bit off.
I'm picking up a large-scale enemy inbound. Looks to be 2 points.
Yeah, this plunge and void out here can be a little bit hard to get used to. Finding the correct angle.
Yeah, certainly looks like he got it there though, so that's nice. Yeah, we're seeing Marbles here just fighting against a boss called the Goliath Flyer. Pretty simple boss, to be honest. We kind of just hold, shoot, fire a couple of pod programs into him, and that's about it, really.
Pretty straightforward.
Reverting back to area recon.
Wait, I'm still picking up a large enemy presence.
Didn't I kill that already?
What on? If it's that big, we should be able to see it.
Is that a machine?
It's freaking huge.
Yeah, now we're seeing Fudge heading into the the same shoot 'em up section that we see marbles in. So I guess it's time for everyone to show their sleeping accommodations.
Oh, and reminder that we have a bounty for finding Grunskip. If you can find a way to skip this section of the game, I think the bounty's over $2,000 US at this point.
Yeah, I believe it is somewhere in the region of 2.5. We definitely need to chase those up at some point just to get a definitive figure on that. But yeah, if there's anyone out there who would like to look into glitches or anything, there's a fairly hefty reward out there if you find a way to skip this section.
And so there's really not much here that you can really gain or lose time on, except for the 3 generators.
Go ahead.
So we're kind of just waiting to see how they do on those generator cores.
All resistance fighters in the vicinity were annihilated.
So basically, if this thing reaches land, we're screwed.
Affirmative.
Yeah, so this is just a bit of a slow section in the run here. I know it can certainly deflate me if I've got well, either way, a good run or a bad run. I generally lose all excitement by the time I'm about halfway through this section.
So coming up on the first core here, you have to kill all 4 of these outside nodes before you can attack the middle one. The timing is very tight to destroy both of the nodes on the side before it rotates, so nicely done by Marbles there, and he needs 2 pod programs in order to finish off the center.
Electromagnetic interference eliminated. Preparing for satellite laser strike.
Yep, so that's pretty much perfect first call there from Marbles. Doesn't get any better than that. If you don't kill the outer cores fast enough, they can spin round for any amount of time. Could lose you, well, realistically anything up to 30 seconds, a minute over the course of 3, potentially even more.
Yeah, they control you very badly sometimes.
Yeah, I think in my second race against Litz, I had like a 4 or 5 cycle on one of the calls.
Have an idea. You and I should meet up at the spot I just marked.
Also, one thing to mention about the SMUP sections is that 9S can actually steal your experience if he kills a flyer instead of you, so that's just one more thing to take into account in terms of like the experience routing.
Yeah, it's not so bad if he just picks up, you know, 1 or 2 flyer kills, but he can actually get the finishing blow on the cores as well. I've seen that.
Yeah.
That's a very big hit to your experience.
That's right.
I suppose it's not a big deal for Marble because he got the tank in the amusement park, so he should be fine in terms of experience.
It's probably actually worth noting, I've seen a few runs where Marbles has got the tank kill and still not hit level 20 before the final E-fight. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, it's not actually guaranteed.
Oh, wow. How much experience does the tank give? Does anybody know? Do you know, Tech?
I believe it's 440, if I remember correctly. I think it's a very large amount, but yeah, I believe it's 400 and something, definitely.
Marbles clips out in the Mook's room, correct?
That is correct, yeah.
Okay.
Keep that thing right where it is, okay? What? Please, Doobie. This is gonna work.
So it might depend on how many if he kills, you know, like an extra enemy or two in the Moob's room as he's waiting for the elevator, that could be what determines if he gets level 20 or not.
No!
Interesting.
Just hold on.
Yeah, Fuller said 440 might be right.
2B,
Makes sense, because don't the robots in there give 40 experience? The purple ones?
I'm honestly not sure, but that sounds about right.
I think I remember the one that's like laying by the fence right before Soshi gives 40. I think I remember hearing that. But if that's the case, then yeah, 440 would be about 11 of those.
Yeah, we're seeing Marbles just come up to another car now. We'll see how his combat is here, if he'll get any bad cycles.
Looks like a good start. We'll see if he actually uses a pod program on the last core. I guess not.
So for anyone keeping count, Marbles has only one core left, and Fudgecow has 2.
Looks like Fudgecow actually missing a mortar shot there, fortunately. But we see Marble here taking out the last core. Was he a little slow there, or did he just get unlucky? It's kind of hard to tell.
Well, I'll relay back something that Marbles once told me. He said that the cores will not turn in a bad way if you are good.
Okay.
So he must have been just a little slow there.
Good, I get to blame him then, instead of the game for once.
Feels good. But yeah, Marbles coming out of that section now. And we are probably going to see him just do a little water walk here.
Operator to 2B?
He was going for 2 pod spins and then they plunged there to void out and respawn farther up on the highway, but there's like a frame or like multiple frames where you actually, even though you're dashing in the air, you can still do a heavy attack. So he got that, lost his dash, lost the ability to plunge.
Yeah, so that weird aerial dashing heavy, I'm pretty certain that's frame perfect. If you wanted to try and do that. It's something that I know a lot of the people who used to make combo videos use quite a lot for some very swaggy stuff.
Yeah.
But we're seeing Marbles here just come up to one of the most precise skips in the run. And what he's going to do is he's just going to do, he's going to hold his heavy attack button here. So the execution isn't too difficult, but the angle is extremely precise. There we go, he gets it second time, that's very nice. Just allows him to get completely through that wall I'm not
But
entirely...
unfortunately, looks like he canceled his plunge a little too early, so now he has to do it one more time. I believe he uses a lineup with 2B's feet.
Let's go.
So overall, that was still fairly nice from Marbles there. You got unlucky there for missing the place we need to land.
One thing to note is that when you're plunging down to that underground tunnel, it is possible to get stuck in the elevator before you press the button, which I believe is a soft lock.
Yeah.
So you have to be quite careful with your plunge angle there.
What is this?
Analysis. This area is composed of crystallized...
That can also happen on the way to Flooded City as well, actually, as you're doing the second round to spawn you near the enemies. The elevator can just completely spawn around you. Soft lock you right there. But we're seeing Marbles just get into this fight here with Adam. What happens at the start of this fight is there's a very long dialogue. We don't really want to hear it. We just wait around, so Marbles is going to use these boxes here to do a fairly precise lineup, just to clip out here, get out of bounds, exit the area that we would be trapped in, and he's going to actually go back to the elevator that we came down in, and he's going to try very hard not to softlock the game in the elevator.
Yeah, I think this is the third softlock elevator spot, I believe, in the game.
Yep. And basically, what we're going to see Marbles do is just slightly step foot inside the elevator and then get out immediately. If those elevator doors close while he's in there, that will probably be the end of his run. But yeah, that's not going to happen. Someone as experienced as Marbles.
Yeah, it's pretty safe if you just do a punch and then just press the dash button. If you dash without any sort of without holding any direction, you'll just dash backwards. So it's very safe to get in the elevator and back out, but that stuff can happen sometimes.
And now he's just gonna get into another combat section. Another boss fight here against Adam. So just essentially get him to a damage threshold. He'll start another dialogue. Wait that out, and now we can actually kill him in this last bit. And it looks like Fudgecow has just finished up the last core of Grun there, so he's going to be coming out now as well.
So this phase 2 of Adam can be a little annoying sometimes. Sometimes when he does certain attacks, the ones where he sort of teleports away and you lose target, but nicely done by Marble there.
Yeah, no, certainly the Adam fights are some of the most hated in the community because he can just teleport around, do quite a lot of attacks actually that mean that you can not really do much damage to him. And on Marble screen we actually just saw another dialogue skip there, but this time instead of using the partner he actually spoke to a computer girl and just walked into another trigger. So that's another very important dialogue skip to get. That saves another large portion of time.
Yeah, we used to just let that dialogue play out and make our way to this teleporter coming up by the highway bridge, but once that dialogue skip was found, we can start this dialogue right now between 2B and Pascal so that it's over by the time we get there to the meetup point outside factory.
And we're seeing Fudgecow here just come up to the copied city clip.
They're seeking to form an alliance of some kind with our village.
If that's what they want.
Almost gets it first try. You can sort of tell how far 2B goes into the wall, how close your angle is.
Apparently it's located in the abandoned factory.
Yeah, I'm sure if you look, there's a graph
I was actually planning to go speak with
actually that Canaris made, which shows like kind of how far out it pushes you. It makes no sense, but every time I'm trying the clip, I do think of that graph now. But yeah,
there
that
we go.
Still very nice from Fudgecow.
Oh, he almost getting very, very close to that elevator. That always scares me.
Yeah, very spooky.
And then you'll see Marble using some upskirt strats here. It actually is slightly faster than the slow walk.
Yeah, so this is something that you can only do if you actually change your camera settings to stop any auto adjust, which is something you can do from the options menu. Basically, 2B's just trying to slap the camera out of the way, stop it looking up a skirt, and normally if you hadn't changed the camera settings, she would do that. She would slap the camera, and you wouldn't get that animation again. But yeah, by changing that, we can just keep us stuck in that animation, doing it over and over again. Fudgecow with a very nice mansplain in there.
Yeah, it looked like first try. Sort of the lenient thing about that trick is you have to wait for a very specific piece of dialogue before you enter the elevator. So you have plenty of time to sort of get the correct lineup.
But Marbles is about to be coming up to a section that is very tightly packed with skips. Some of them are extremely complex and fairly difficult to perform. So this should be very interesting to see. We see Fudge doing some swag there.
Marble's being a little risky, doing some dash swings through that area. If you kill a robot with that, you get one of the bad endings.
Hello, my name is Pascal. I'm here to discuss the peace treaty.
Okay, so the sequence of skips is about to begin on Marble's screen here. So first we're going to see him try and escape this room. He's just going to clip using this pipe here. Yep, and he gets out first time just with a pod launch there.
Nicely done.
Yes, that's very nice. He basically, this despawns all the enemies, spawns in a new set and actually unlocks the elevator door. Normally we'd have to kill a certain amount of the mooks to open the elevator door, but that just opens it immediately.
And then Marble's opting to just do a double laser on those mooks. I'm not sure. It might be better to let them come towards you a little bit and do some damage glitches. I'm not really sure.
That's certainly my preference, but I know that... ooh, Marble's doing some swag here. I know it's my preference, but I know doing the double laser there can help to get Pascal in the lift faster. It stops him getting trapped, so I wonder if that's what he was thinking.
Marble is going for the old school clip out of this room, where you get a double lift off of this pipe here, and I haven't seen anybody do this in a long time.
Yeah, this is a very, very cool skip.
Oh, and I think he might have gone too far.
Ooh. Well, he gets the normal way that we do that. Oh, it looks fine. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so essentially that room Marbles was in, there a very large amount of ways to get out of that room. He was initially going for the first method that we were aware of, which is pretty difficult, but we're going to see him come up to another skip now. This is the one that actually allows us to skip most of the factory. So he's going to do a huge plunge here, spam his SDs, get himself in position, hit that dialogue trigger there and void out before 2B hits the floor. And this will actually spawn him back up at the top, and he's going to do another big here double plunge. And just like that, he skipped over basically the entirety of the deep factory section of the game.
Very nicely done.
Yes, a very, very difficult skip.
So there's that robot that's laying on the fence that I was mentioning before. Fullest telling me that the lasering is just to make sure that Pascal isn't blocked from getting in the elevator, which makes sense. I'm not sure like if Marble is like really familiar with how much experience he has like during the run. I'm not really sure.
I would imagine a lot of it is still probably RNG. It probably depends on your Adam pit and a few other things. I would imagine it's probably very hard to consistently say this is how much experience I'd have in a run. But I imagine he probably has a better idea than most people.
I got it. I've been keeping an eye on
Just judging from when he levels up and things like that, I know that can certainly be a tell.
80% control. Hang in there, 2B.
And we see Fudgecow doing a Fudgecow strategy there. When he gets to this elevator, because we're just waiting for this guy to slowly walk up, he actually blows up. He self-destructs there if he's ahead of his PB. So Fudgecow is definitely on for a good run here.
Electrical grid.
So we're starting the Soshi fight here. You're just going to see Marble throwing out double damage glitches, trying to get lucky with crits basically. He does not want to break any of the legs. Looks like that fight's over, so good job.
Yeah, has a very nice bit of combat there.
Didn't seem like he got that many crits, so that's a little unlucky, but still a good fight.
And we're seeing Fudgecow just come up to the long section of skips here as well. But we saw Marbles do just a very short amount of time ago. I'm honestly not sure how much of this Fudge does, so this should be interesting to see.
Looks like he's definitely going for the first clip here. First try, nicely done.
And
then we see Marble making his way back to the section of factory that we see in Prologue. It's basically the same exact clip to get through the wall or the ceiling here.
Yep, so the only difference here over when we saw the runners do this in Prologue is you just kind of have to jump into that pod launch there. Otherwise you get locked onto the enemies who are trying to become as gods.
And you'll definitely land in the lava yourself.
Yeah.
Wow, that was certainly something. I had no idea such a vast space existed beneath the abandoned factory. I need to return and investigate as soon as possible. When I do, perhaps you'd be willing to join me?
No thanks.
So Fudgecow manages to clip out with a slightly different method. Instead of doing a pod launch, he just does one of those heavy holds and is able to clip out that way.
Wander back to the village. I have plenty on my plate there.
I see.
And so while Marble is just sort of making his way back to the Resistance camp, we'll take a look and see what Fudgecow does here for the second part of Factory.
Very nice.
Nicely done, gets the trigger.
Let's move.
Looks like he got the double plunge as well.
Yeah, it was some very nice, very nice skip there from Fudgecow. It was the very difficult part, in my opinion, was executed very well there. So very good to see. But we're seeing Marbles here just arrive back at the Resistance camp, which is currently under attack. So he's just going to run to this side-scrolling area where a lot of enemies will spawn.
Good luck.
And he's just essentially going to buff up, taunt up, and try and just throw out as many spinning swords as he can and get through these enemies as fast as possible.
And there's a bit of luck involved here with how fast the medium bipeds explode. Looks like Marble has gotten very lucky with the death animations here. That was very fast.
Yep,
Then while Fudgecow is waiting for Soshi, Marble is going to start on Bokushi here.
Yeah, which is a very similar boss actually to Soshi. except now he's a bit more electric-y. So,
Local machine life forms are converging.
very similar strategy.
This is never going
That electrified water will damage you, but since we have the resilience chip equipped, it will not stagger. It won't stagger you while you're attacking. So Marble doing an SD here just to take out some more stubbies and just get some more experience.
You okay?
I'm fine.
What we're going to see Marbles do here with the first car is just get it pulled up onto this hilly, grassy section. This is because when it does a lot of its attacks, it actually raises up. So it becomes extremely difficult to hit, but that was an incredibly fast fight.
Very fast.
They're still coming? What do I do? There's too many.
2B? 2B, can you hear me? Our village is under...
Pascal?
Okay, and he's just going to make his way to the next boss, which is the giant, weird, snaky thing we just saw in the sky. He's going to go protect Pascal's fence, mostly, because it's under R. And we see Fudgecow just getting a little bit caught in the rafters there, but he gets out of that very nicely.
Damn it! They're here too!
So just another little bit of combat here on Marble's screen. He's just gonna taunt up, buff up, attack all of these enemies that are attacking the fence. And then here comes the next boss, the second car, and he's gonna go and try and get a quick kill on this by throwing out as many damage glitches as he can.
Yep, no slow-mo though. I'm not sure if that's what he normally does or not.
Yeah, I believe Marbles doesn't use any slow-mo.
Oh, okay. But then you also saw after the core exploded, he talked to 9S, and that's again to skip some dialogue.
What is this?
Looks like he's
Yeah,
bombarding
that's
the
another one that's a surprisingly large time save actually.
Transmissions are making the machines go haywire.
But he's just going to make his way to the final boss fight of the game here, Eve.
Looks like he is only level 19, so he'll lose out a bit of damage, but should still be fine. It's not a huge difference.
Massive energy signature detected.
So that was a very nice first phase for Eve there.
Number of linked machine forms.
So what's happening here is we see him go into this ball, he heals up, and he's just about to go into his second phase.
Damn it! We'll never get anywhere like this. I'm going to try.
Yeah, Marble's just going to keep up the damage here.
Shutting him down.
And wait for 9S just to complete some hacking.
Protecting Unit 9S while he hacks the system.
The enemy unit cut off from network functionality.
So that was some more very nice combat from Marbles, and we're just going into the final two stages of Eve on Marble's screen.
Yeah, we'll see what he does here. Looks like he's just gonna do some lifts into Eve and then try and hit him with some plunges before lasering him. Yeah, so he's basically just gonna do a lift, do like a heavy attack in the air, and then finish it off with a plunge.
And now Marble's coming into this final phase. What happens here is essentially everything gets shut down, so we can't melee attack anymore, we can't dodge, we can't jump, we can only move and shoot.
And then we're just hoping that Eve stays kind of still. So he stayed pretty close, so nice fight by Marble.
Yeah, so it looks like this is going to be another very respectable time from Marble.
Always reload my backup data from the bunker.
But you'll lose you. The
And
you that
Fudgecow
exists
just
at this
finishing
very
up Bokashi there.
Guess so, but we can't upload this corrupted data to the bunker. So
9S.
please, Tubi.
So congratulations to Marble. 127.39. Very respectable race time.
Yeah, that's a very good run time. Overall, a very, very solid run from Marbles. Which, to be honest, as we've said, with how consistent Marbles is, it's kind of to be expected.
What do we do? There's too many.
Tubi, can you hear me?
And I believe Fudgecow is still on PB pace, so
Pascal? Come in, Pascal!
excited to see if he can get the PB. Looks like he PB'd in his other tournament race, I believe.
I saw him streaming a little bit earlier, and I believe his PB was around a 132.40, or maybe a 132.30, something in that region.
It's very good. We're joined by Marble. Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations, Marbles.
That run was all over the place. I got excited because I had no punches in prologue. And then I lost all of that time.
Let's take these guys out first.
Anything that was really unexpected that happened?
Thank you so much.
Having that many crit chips for sure.
Yeah. What chips did you get exactly? Because we didn't get to see
I had
all of them.
I had 2 crit plus 2 equipped, but I had like probably 8 or 9 crit zeros with that.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You just worry about keeping the village safe, okay?
So did you only have 2 plus 2s?
Yeah, I had 2 plus 2s and then resilience.
Okay. Yeah, so crit plus 2 gives what is it, 4% crit chance? So he had 8 total.
Yeah. Yeah, the end game crits were crazy.
What was going through your head when you were in the 9S room, Marbles? I saw you going for the original clip.
Yeah, I was trying to, and I know I can do it. I just, the first time I got up there, I accidentally did a dash swing and it threw off my brain. My brain didn't know what to do because I'm used to using a heavy hold there. Like, I easily could have gotten it if I had just adjusted to it, but I had no idea. It threw off my memory because it's not what I typically do there.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting to see. Like that's the strat that we used to use, and now you can just do a lift and just sort of pod lunge, like just right through the wall.
Yeah.
So Fudge is on phase 3 right now. Looks like he picked up skill salves, so he's just going to use those in order to significantly reduce the cooldown times for the pod laser.
So yeah, Fudge just going into the very last phase here. Looking like he's on very good time. Win Super informed us that his PB is a 132. Oh, I've lost it now.
132.35.
Yep, that's it.
So looks like he's got it. Probably be like at what, 131.57 or so.
Maybe.
It's okay. I can always reload my backup
Let's hope he gets a sub 132.
But you'll lose you, the you that exists at this very moment.
Guess so, but we can't upload this corrupted data to the bunker.
Ah, barely.
So,
Still though, PB is a PB.
Yeah, very good run from Fudge. He's just improving so fast.
Incredibly fast.
please to me.
And that means he's just overtaken me as well on the leaderboard, so congratulations.
For me.
Very good. I think Fudgecow will be a sub 130 runner in no time at all.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll just have Fudge jump in for a minute here. Hello,
Fudge.
welcome Fudgecow.
Congratulations on the PB.
Hi.
Yeah, congrats on PB.
Yeah.
Have any thoughts about the race?
Oh, I think I ruined every segment from 4 robots until after factory.
Yeah, it seemed like your early game was like really good.
Yeah, I think it was on par with myself early on, but like 4 robots forward, I think there was just spaghetti. And then late game, I think I had the best Eve I've ever had. For sure.
Yeah, you were doing the skill salve strat.
Yeah, I ended up doing that, I guess.
Nah.
I was wanting to do more, but like skill salve just worked out, I guess. Yeah, lasers are strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, PB by 30 seconds, I think.
Yeah, well, 132 in a race is very, very good. For sure.
And Marbles beat me by quite a bit.
Yeah, well, like I say every time people compare times, it's like, well, you know, when you put 750 hours into the game, you would expect to be pretty quick.
Yeah. I think you got like 10 times the time I have.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm happy with the run overall, just some spaghetti. I think I had the most frustrating run I've ever had as well. There were some core shenanigans.
Yeah. Yeah, I had one core trolled me the last one.
Yeah, I think I had like 3 cycles I couldn't hit him, and then my buffs ran out, and I didn't realize until they spun again, and it's... Good times. But yeah.
Yeah, I got really lucky with chips, so that was part of it too. This wouldn't have been this quick. I had 2 crit plus 2 equipped, but I had like probably 8 crit zeros.
I had 2 crit zeros.
Nice.
I got plenty of crits anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't really get any until basically the boss rush, and then everything just melted.
Yeah, I had that too.
It looked like you got some on A2 as well, because that fight was really quick.
I guess A2 was okay. Or unless me Marbles.
Marbles was she didn't even run away at all.
Oh yeah, A2 was good. Yeah, I forgot that was good.
That was a crazy fight.
Too bad I had that weird glitch. I didn't even know you could clip out on that hill like that.
Oh yeah, you just sort of dashed like right inside the hill.
Wait, what? Yo, going up that hill, like doing that high jump up the hill to get to the bridge, I just like clipped out of bounds. I don't know how, but I got out of bounds. I'm like, wait, what do I do?
Well, anything else that y'all want to say about the race or the next races? What races do we have coming up here?
I guess
we have Canaris' first race tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern versus Blue Metal, and then tomorrow Fudgecow's against MASH at I forget what time.
About this time, I think an hour earlier or later. I don't remember.
Yeah, looks like noon Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah.
You can go to speedgaming.org/NA to see all the upcoming scheduled matches. I think there are some chat commands. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I'm seeing this match, my final match. I need to win that one, at least. But yeah, good race.
Yeah, good race.
Yeah, so check out Fudge tomorrow. Follow him. Follow Marble. Follow Tech.
Follow
me. Follow Speed Gaming. Yeah, I think we're done. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks for commentating MT with me. Thanks for everyone for watching. Thanks for the runners. It was a really good race. Yeah, thank you.
Later, guys.
Bye bye.
Goodbye.